Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Ming Chen. I am here at a Shared Universe podcast studio. I have a very awesome friend here with a story, with an origin story. I have so many questions, but everybody, please, Angel, I'm going to introduce you as Angel, right? Angel
Yep.
Volkart. Is that
Yep.
cool? How
Yeah.
are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing great. So we've known each other 4 years. I
Yep.
counted back, almost four
Okay.
and a half. But it was only maybe the last 4 to 6 months that I
Mhm.
found out you did something super cool. Uh, you were involved in the world of dirt biking, which
Mhm.
I know nothing about. But your photos, I've seen some videos. You sent me a live stream to a race that went on this past weekend.
Yeah.
Exposed me to a very cool world that I really don't know anything about. And like I said, I had so many questions. Um, Dirt biking in your world, can you describe it? Like, how can you? I'll, I'm gonna ask for the elevator pitch first, and then I'll get you to get more in depth. But I mean, I'm sure people ask you all the time. How do you describe it?
I For me, it's like the ultimate release. It's like the ultimate therapy. It is you and machine becoming one. It is um the best workout that I've ever done. A lot of people think you just sit on the bike and go. There's a lot more to it than that. You are constantly moving on the bike to kind of find the right body positioning for what it is you're trying to do. And there's in the dirt biking world, there's different like groupings. So there's the supercross world, which is like in the track world, and then there's like trails, which is very different. There's like hard enduro and things like that. So it's very like everybody who does dirt biking does it a little bit different, but yeah, that's kind of the overall.
That's amazing. Which one do you do out of all that? I didn't even know there were different categories.
Yeah.
Um, like when
Uh,
I think of dirt biking, I guess I think of like X Games. Like I don't even know if they have dirt biking, but um,
Yeah, so that's kind of like what a lot of people think of, like the big jumps and stuff like that. That's more of like the supercross, motocross. That's what a lot of people know. That's what gets like I guess the most television coverage. But what I do is I do trail riding. So I actually started doing enduro races and hair scrambles last year, which is trail races essentially.
that's awesome. How do you get it? How'd you get into this? Yeah, I met you and you're about my height, about 5 foot plus. Like,
I'm 5'0", so yeah.
are you really 5 feet?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
and so excuse me for being maybe stereotypical. I did not picture you on a dirt bike, flying around bends and going down trails like 100 miles an hour, or just going on any trails. How did you get into this?
So originally, to start at the very beginning, my uncle got a dirt bike when I was like 5 years old. And he took me out on a ride on it. And I thought it was the coolest thing ever. I absolutely fell in love with it. It was the best feeling I've ever had. And I actually liked it so much that I ended up climbing on my brother's back, trying to get on the dirt bike and knocking it over on myself and getting a concussion. So that was my first dirt bike accident. Um, but
At 5 years old?
yeah, 5 years old, but I never actually rode it myself. We didn't really have money for dirt bikes and stuff like that when I was younger, so I didn't actually get into it until I was about 27. My friend's husband was selling a dirt bike, and I was like to the person I was with at the time, I was like, "Hey, you should buy that bike, and then we could both ride it. Like that would be really cool." And up until that point, he even had no idea that I had always wanted to ride a dirt bike. Like I thought it would be so cool to just go out there. And I had been kind of exposed over time, like by friends who were into motorcycles to the hard enduro world. So that's like where people are going over like logs and rocks and going up the sides of mountains and stuff like that. And I thought that was the coolest thing. And I was like, I want to do that one day. Like, that would be so cool. So in my head, this is it. Like, this is a chance to get a dirt bike for really cheap and then get started. And that's kind of where it all started.
That's
So,
awesome. I still like I mean, so you buy a bike, right? You bought the bike
yep.
and you've been on them, but how do you I guess you meet a group of people where in this they show you the ropes. Like how do you I just like how how do you get initiated to all this? Like, how do you learn?
Initiated. Like it's a cult. Um, so, well, my ex actually knew how to ride. So he rode street bike for a long time.
Okay.
And he had a group of friends who rode. So we actually ended up going out with them for the first time. And I I've always been very much a hands-on person. So like throw me on the bike and like tell me what to do, but I need to do it to learn it. And I just went. I fell so many times, but we went down to Iowa and there's this really sandy place in Waterloo. And basically I was just like falling over in the sand all the time. So at least it didn't hurt. But yeah, it's just like a lot of people watch YouTube videos and like you can get like books and everything, but everybody does YouTube now. So I didn't even look at any of that stuff. I just had them show me where the clutch and the throttle were. And I was like, let's just go. And so we went. And by the end of that day, I was riding decently. And I got a little ahead of myself and I got like a little confident and cocky. And I went down a different trail. And I ended up doing what's called whiskey throttle. I hit a puddle and then I hit the throttle because I just like clenched really hard. And I ended up doing a wheelie into a tree and knocking myself out.
I mean, it's all part of it, right? Falling
Yeah.
like
Oh yeah, for sure.
wheeling into trees. So these trails you ride, like typically how long are they? I know they probably vary in length, but
they do.
is it standard?
Not really. It depends on where you go. Some places have longer trails than others. Like here in North Dakota, the trails that I ride are out in this place called Bottineau, and they only have like 12 miles of trails. So I just do laps around there. But when I go to Minnesota, there's a couple different places that I go, and one of them is this place called Akeley, and they've got like I don't even know how many miles of trails, lots and lots and lots. I have friends who go like every summer and they still haven't ridden all the trails yet. So it's really kind of cool because you can really go get lost in nature.
Yeah. And where did you end up learning? Did you learn, we met in Minnesota. Did you learn in Minnesota?
So I learned actually technically in Iowa in Waterloo because that was what we found to be the most beginner friendly area. Not a lot of like really big hill climbs or anything crazy there. But there is stuff like that in one area. They have like a whole enduro like setup there. So you can go and you can do that stuff, or you can do the super easy trail, which is what I went on. And so that was kind of like where I started learning was in Waterloo before. The second time that I went was in Minnesota, and my friend goes, yeah, it's super easy. Let's go to Snake Creek. It's like super chill. Like you'll have no problem. And then the first thing that I come around the corner, this is my second time ever riding, come around the corner and there's this huge hill to go up. And I was like, I don't know what to do. There's all kinds of rocks and like my bike is really little and it doesn't have good suspension. So I was like, every time I hit a rock, I'm like bouncing. And I had no idea about like body positioning or anything like that at the time. So I was just getting thrown around. I almost fell off the side of the cliff. It was really great.
Part of the thrill, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. I loved it. Like I still kept doing it, even though it scared the crap out of me.
I mean, yeah, I think that's part of it though.
Yeah.
So these hazards, water, rocks, inclines. I mean, what other kind of hazards are there? Or challenges, or
pretty much anything you can think of. I mean, it kind of depends on where you're riding. So when I went to Arizona, my friend and I road tripped down to Arizona back in March, and that was a whole new thing, was riding out in the desert because I grew up in the desert, but she had never been there. And so I had to tell her about the dangers of cacti and please do not fall into this specific kind because it's called a jumping cactus. And it literally, like, it's not just one little piece that will stick into you. Like the whole thing will release from the tree essentially, and you'll just be covered in cacti. So I was like, do not hit these. And then the area that we went to, just all of those cacti everywhere. And I was like, who is the sadist that made this trail?
And so these hazards challenges, I are they late? I mean, are they set, man made? Some of them.
Some of them, yeah. Some of them, it's just kind of like you get the property and you're just trying to find the best way to make a trail. So it just happens to
Okay.
be there. When I was at this place, Akeley in Minnesota, we were riding just a few weeks back, actually. And a lot of there had been a really big storm and a lot of the smaller trees had fallen. So my friend Adam was like ahead of everybody and he kept stopping and like having to like push the trees off of the trail and stuff like that. I mean, we're talking bigger trees than like they're higher than I could like go over. I haven't quite mastered being able to go over a tree that's like suspended in midair. That's my next step.
So that's the thing.
Yeah, it is.
Just
like the pros can like totally pretty much go over anything.
That's insane. So at this point, how many years in are you, would you say at this point?
So technically like 5 years, but those first few years I only had like 6 hours of seat time each year because I was in school and I was working full time. So really seat time, I've really only had, this is my second summer. So I'm pretty new.
Yeah, that's cool. But I saw you just got a new job, right? So you're working at a place.
Yep. So I am now an event manager for the Leaky Mushroom Moto Ranch, which I'm super excited about. So I wanted to progress in my riding, right? And the only ways to do that are seat time. And like a lot of people watch YouTube videos. Well, I just happen to have a friend who was launching this business. She is really, really great at helping teach people how to ride better. And so why not, teach everybody? So that's what she's doing. And she put on these clinics this summer. And so I went to a couple of them and it seriously changed my riding so much. It gave me the skills to do all this crazy stuff that I'm doing now. It gave me so much confidence. Like I started out like on the first day going, there's no way I'm going to ever be able to do a wheelie on this bike. Like it's just not going to happen. And by the end of the day, I was doing it consistently over logs. So that was really cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, so you've ridden Minnesota, you've ridden Iowa, North Dakota, Arizona. I mean, what's next? Where you have a dream destination?
Everywhere. Ideally, I would like to ride in every single state and then start hitting other countries. That's the ideal. I think the next place that I'm going to be riding in is North Carolina in a couple weeks. We actually have a clinic in North Carolina, so I'm hoping to jump on a bike and get some riding down there. This place is pretty gnarly from what I hear. So like the pros ride there. So it's supposed to be pretty cool.
So what you're telling me, there are places to ride everywhere. Is what you're telling me. I mean, probably somewhere here in New Jersey. I just don't know as I haven't looked, but is there a website where I can look these up?
There are websites. It kind of depends on, there's one called Rider Planet and it's got like most of the places. Some of them are private, but most of them are public, but some states have more laws for it or against it. Like there's places in California, there's counties that you can't ride dirt bike in at all. But then there's other ones where it's just like, they don't really care. So yeah. So it just kind of depends on where you're at. Off the top of my head, I don't know anything in Jersey, but I do know things in New York.
Okay.
So, and I know there's a lot of riding on the East Coast. So I'm sure there is something in Jersey.
That's cool. And like, what's the community like right now? Is this something that's growing in popularity? Is it huge? I guess I just don't ride in those circles, but now I know you, and it sounds awesome.
Yeah.
And one day I may get up on a dirt bike.
Oh my God, I would love to take you.
Yeah, I have a motorcycle. I have a Ducati motorcycle jacket, and that's as far as I've gotten. I'll get the jacket first. Maybe I'll get a bike later. Frankly, I'm afraid to ride on the street though. I think cars have no regard for anybody. much
Yeah.
like less anybody on a bike. I think I might be better off on a trail somewhere.
Oh, for sure. So I've ridden street and I ride dirt bike. I do like street riding, but I don't like street riding in the city. I like country road riding where you can like, go on the curves and stuff like that because people are very unpredictable, especially in bigger cities. Um, I also only had a 125 bike, so it was very small. I couldn't accelerate very quickly, so that was a little scary going on the highway and stuff. But I would love to take you dirt biking. It would be so much fun.
So I could do it. It looks intense. So this past weekend you sent me a live stream to. It was a Red Bull race in Germany, and
Yep. Yeah.
so I took a peek in for about 20 minutes, and I saw about a bunch of riders going up like the steepest hill ever. It's covered in rocks. They're basically trying to pull the bike up it, using the engine to get it up.
Yep.
But I mean, like anything else, all technique though, and it looked exhausting too.
Oh, for sure. Yeah,
Tell me about that race.
that was a pretty crazy race. I mean, like I obviously I didn't ride it. I'm not at that kind of level of riding. But yeah, that they got like a bunch of rain, and so rain makes rocks really slippery, and it made the terrain really slippery. And I think that was a little bit more than what they would generally prefer to ride in. So they were definitely having trouble because usually those guys are like flying up that stuff. As it got a little bit more dry, it was a little bit easier for them. But I don't really know like enough about that level of riding to say really. I'm definitely not there yet. That's definitely something like I have a goal to do something like that one day. One day I would like to be at one of those races. Like that would be really cool, but I have a little ways to go.
What was that one? What was that one called? It was an endurance race, right? So do you anything about
so that was a hard enduro. It's called the Getson Rodeo.
And how long do they go for, or how far is it?
I don't know how far it was because they're basically doing laps. But it was like 2 hours of just doing that, and those guys are like super super fast. So it was a lot of laps. They were doing like 15 or 20 laps, I think.
That's insane.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
And so you mentioned clinics. Are you teaching people? Are you teaching people techniques now?
So I'm not, I'm just the event manager, and then like I'm doing photography and videography. But Catherine and his name is Nick. They are the coaches. They are certified through the Racing Association of America. And they are absolutely phenomenal instructors. So it's really cool. Like I said, Catherine, like, she's just a natural at it. She was teaching me stuff to do on the trail when we were in Arizona. My bike actually ended up breaking down in the middle of the desert out there, and we had to push it 3 miles out. But prior to that, we thought it was just me not knowing what I was doing on the bike that was causing me to have all these issues, like going up the hill and stuff. And she was like, okay, so position your body like this. Now do this. Now pull in the clutch. And I was like doing all these things. And I was like, I don't understand why I'm not getting this, only to find out that I totally had a dead bike. So it really wasn't me. It was the bike.
All right, it wasn't your fault. It's like, no. I told you, it wasn't my fault.
Yeah, I was like, I was trying so hard.
Yeah, the bike you're riding now, what kind of bike are you riding now?
So right now I'm on a Yamaha TTR 125. So it's just a little bike. It's not a full-size bike, but that's what I've learned on. I've gone through some pretty crazy stuff. I've ridden in Wyoming, New Mexico, the Arizona. I did the hare scramble there. I did an enduro and a hare scramble in Minnesota on it. And a lot of people look at me on a TTR and they're like, that thing cannot go through anything. I've been over some pretty crazy rocks, some pretty crazy root steps and stuff. It's done a lot. His name is Gary the Snail because he's slow.
Like
yeah, like SpongeBob. But Gary is set to retire here in the next couple weeks, and I will be upgrading to a full-size bike. So pretty excited.
Well, which one are you looking at?
Right now I'm looking at a a couple different ones. I rode a friend of mine's Beta X Trainer. It's a 300. So moving up from a 125 to a 300 is a big step. But I mean, I handled it really well. I was able to go over all of the same logs and up the same hills that the guys were going up. I was a little bit slower just because I'm not as comfortable because it was my first time riding the bike. But it was so fun. Oh my God. I did not know that riding could be that fun. Like, I have a lot of fun when I ride, but having a bike with the proper suspension, and knowing the right techniques and everything, it really made a huge difference in my riding. So, I'm looking at that, or there's a brand called Husqvarna, and I'm looking at a couple of their bikes as well, but I haven't gotten a chance to ride those yet. So I haven't picked what I'm getting yet. So nobody yell at me.
I mean, you know, there's no rush, right? Pick the right one, right?
No,
Take your
yeah,
time.
exactly. I'm taking my time, just trying to find what's going to be right for me. Like you said, I'm only 5 feet tall, so the Beta is a shorter statured bike than like the Husqvarnas, but I don't know. I really don't want it to be limiting because of how small I am. Like,
Right.
I rode the full size bikes and I did a pretty good job, in my opinion. I don't know. I was told that I did a good job and I was riding well. So, you know, I think I can pretty much handle anything. It's just a matter of getting the seat time in.
Yeah. Sounds like you're having fun too, which is
Yeah.
more important. Do you ride every day?
No, unfortunately not. I'm just not close enough to anything to ride every day. I would absolutely love to. I had property in Minnesota for a little while, and when I had that, I had 5 acres, and I would go ride every day. I would just go do laps, like after work. That was pretty great. But here in North Dakota, I'm about a mile away from the closest trail, or excuse me, an hour away from the closest trail. So with my work schedule, I just can't get out there right now, but I'm kind of hoping that maybe in the future my work is going to change a little bit. And with this new position that I got with the Leaky Mushroom Moto Ranch, I'm hoping that I'll be riding a lot more and that I won't have to stop for winter. Like, maybe I can move south for the winter and go and ride.
Oh yeah, no snow there. You don't have to worry about weather at least. So
Yeah, for sure.
that's amazing. I mean, I kind of covered it, but I see the smile on your face. Why do you love this so much?
I think there's a lot of different aspects to why I love it so much, but it's of course the adrenaline, the excitement. The community is absolutely amazing. Everybody's been so accepting. You know, even when I was on my little TTR and struggling through stuff, you know, everybody was just like, hey, it's fine. It's cool. We can wait for you at the end of the trail. Not a big deal. People help me pick up my bike when I drop it. I had issues at my first race, and, you know, somebody actually stopped and helped me with my bike. And I was like, this is a race, like, keep going. But the community is just absolutely amazing. So I think that's part of it. But I just, as a female, in such like a male dominated world, it is so empowering to be able to kind of like do the things that the guys are doing. Like, it's so cool. And I'm throwing around this bike, and like, you know, this bike weighs like 200 and some pounds in some cases, depending on the bike that I'm riding. And like, it's kind of cool to know that I could do that I can go over these logs and stuff. So it's given me a lot of confidence in life.
That's cool. And so you mentioned females. Are there a lot of females into this, or is it growing?
I definitely think it's growing. Since I started riding, I've met a lot more females who are riding now. But it kind of also depends on the area. Like, when I went to the race in Arizona, there wasn't as many women racing. Now, that's not to say they're not riding. It's just that they weren't racing. There was literally only like 7 of us. So versus in Minnesota, I couldn't even tell you how many women were at the last race that I was at. So, but It's really cool. The last time I went to this one trail ride in Minnesota, there were so many more women that were riding than I had ever seen before. And it's so cool to see like these young teenage girls out there. You know, they get all like done up and everything, and then they put their helmet on, and then they go out and they ride. I think that's just so cool. Like I love seeing it.
That's amazing. I mean, I think the women in Minnesota are cooler in general, but that's just
I'm a little biased, yeah.
just me, little bit. I mean, I hung out with a bunch of them last weekend, so I
Yeah.
know this to be a fact for sure. Um,
Yeah.
so what's in your future as far as riding goes, you think? Or
Well,
what would you
there's
like to see happen?
what would well, like I said, I would love to get more into the hard enduro world. Kind of do more of that kind of racing. Just build my skills up. That's the biggest thing is I just want to be on two wheels. Like I really at this point, that's my biggest goal is to be on two wheels. Like you said, I would love to be there every single day, being able to ride. But yeah, I'm not trying to like win races or anything. I just want to go and have the experience. It would be really cool to ride overseas. I think that's probably my ultimate goal is just to be able to go ride overseas somewhere. Like there's a lot of really cool places out there to go ride at that I see, people post on Instagram and stuff like that. It looks so cool.
That's cool. I mean, I guess you'd have to get a bike out there. Do people ship them overseas to ride?
Yeah, and sometimes like you can rent bikes different
Okay.
places. So yeah, that's probably more of what I would do is like rent a bike somewhere.
Cool. I mean, I see it happening. I mean,
Yeah.
I know it's gonna happen. So I'll be following your adventures. That's your Instagram handle there on the bottom
Yep.
at Bike Angel 290.
Yep.
I like following your North Dakota adventures and your Minnesota adventures. Can't wait to see you in Germany or anywhere else
Oh,
in
that
the
would be
desert,
crazy.
maybe like
Yeah.
wherever. And I'd love to see you conquer all 50 states as well.
Yep.
So,
I'm on
um,
my way. I think I'm at 7 now. 7 for riding. So, yeah.
all right, you're almost 20% there. So,
Yeah, almost.
yeah, just keep going. And yeah, one day I'll hop on that trail with you. Go easy
Yeah,
on.
for sure. No, we'll take you somewhere that's not too
Okay,
crazy. Like,
okay. I'm looking forward to it. Is there anything I missed?
I don't think so. No.
Okay, okay. Thank you. I think I had so many questions when I was like, wait a minute, is she dirt biking? Like that's pretty badass. But, but like
Yeah.
how and why? And now we know. So now everybody knows. So thank you so much. And
Thank you.
looking forward to seeing you interview other people. I want to know all about your community. So that's
Yeah,
where we're starting all of this. But I needed, listen, I'm a comic book fan. I need to know your origin story. So
my
there we have
origin
it.
story. I love it. I
Ladies
love
and
it.
gentlemen.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you're like the dirt bike version of Ghost Rider. So
All right. I like it. I
I
like
love it.
it.
That's your next cosplay. The
I
dirt
can
bike
do that.
Ghost Rider. It'll
Do
be
you
better
think
than
they'd
Nick.
let me do you think they'd let me do that at a Comic-Con, bring in my bike?
I don't know what the rules are in say Minnesota, but yeah, I think North Dakota, South Dakota, they definitely would. So
Let's do
they're a
it.
little looser there. So Angel Volkart, thank you very much. You're amazing. And
Thank
I'll see
you.
you out on the trails, my friend.
All right. Sounds good.
Thanks for watching, everybody. And keep an eye out for her. She's gonna conquer the whole world on a bike.
Thank you.
Thanks.